What's going on, guys? We decided to get together and do a little group kind of Discord channel chat here about a pretty, I guess, controversial YouTube video that came out, is what I would call it. But anyway, we want to talk about the video that was released, basically saying that if you do these things you see on T.REX's videos, you are training horrible tactics and you're going to die, or they will get you killed. And that's all we want to talk about. We don't want to address any of the other stuff in the video. We just want to look at purely the tactics that are going to get you killed. We have a couple comparisons. With that being said, obviously I'm going to be a little bit biased because I'm friends with T.REX, and a couple of the guys here, all of us are pretty much friends with T.REX. So we're going to be a little bit biased, but we'll try and keep it as absolutely objective as we can, with being able to get out the information that we want to talk about with tactics and all that crap. So my background real quick, I feel like this is important to disclose just because we are talking about tactics, and I don't want to get it twisted with a bunch of people thinking that I'm now becoming the expert or SME in CQB and tactics and all that crap. Absolutely not. My background, 11 Bravo in the Army. From 2015 I got in 2019 I got out. One deployment to Iraq, not a very kinetic deployment. Not direct firefights, kicking doors in, shooting people in the face or anything like that. But I was in a reconnaissance, kind of 175 Cav Charlie troop. It's a light dismounted reconnaissance. When I got back, I went to sniper school, graduated sniper school in July 2017 from Fort Benning. Trained a lot as a sniper, have done a lot of these, I guess you would say, infantry tactics or that type of thing, been trained up on those formally by the United States Army. So I'm going to pass it off to Eric. And Eric, you can go ahead and give a little bit of your background and such.
Sure. So I'm Eric. I am just a cop. Well, I'm not anymore. I was a cop for a decade-ish. Currently involved with the industry. I teach for a couple different companies, Executive Training Group, Greenlight Tactical, TMEC. And then I also sort of set up or produce photo shoots and stuff like that for big companies and stuff like that. But that's about it. I also like to drink sparkling water.
Fair enough. And I feel like I know, Eric, you don't like bragging on yourself. Eric has been trained in CQB and a lot of this stuff formally by the police department that he was with. So he actually has more experience than myself. Just wanted to throw that out there, Eric.
Yeah, I was a SWAT team guy.
Yeah.
If you twisted my arm, I'm going to tell you.
Okay, fair enough. I think it's relevant for this video. I know it's hard to brag on ourselves. All right, Josh, a little bit about who you are, your background, and then we'll get into it.
Josh, I was with the Marine Corps. I was 0352, which is anti-armored, but we did a lot more foot mobile type things, some mobile operations. 2 deployments to Afghanistan, both in the southern region. Didn't do a whole lot of schools or anything like that. Rapid deploy. So I only did my 4 years. That was 2009 to 13. Back-to-back deployments on that one. Did a lot of bounding type things. Did a lot of IED type things. Did a lot of Ricky-Ticky type reconish type stuff, setting up some like entrapments and whatnot in the middle of the deserts for days on end. A lot of some helicopter things. What else? Done a lot of training outside. I've taken classes ranging from CQB with Green Line, for instance. I've done some vehicle stuff with Petty. I've done some things with Runation. I've basically done all of his classes probably 2 or 3 times a piece. What else? Craig Douglas. So I have some ECQC type stuff. I've done, what else I got?
You're like a plethora of classes. You're a plethora of classes.
Yeah, I've done a lot of classes.
Mini class.
Yeah, I think, I've done some night vision, besides the military formal night vision stuff, I've done some night vision outside of the military with Green Line also. So they did CQB, night vision, basics. I think that's right about it. And then obviously I've trained with many other people. Drew. From Bear Solutions. Did some of that with him.
All solid.
So I've been around the block once or twice.
Yeah. Okay, so the reason that I wanted to start the video off with that is just simply so that you guys realize this is not about us boosting our egos up or us talking about how much more we know or what we know or any of that stuff. It's not about that. A lot of that for me is just transparency in who we are, that we're not trying to build up fake credentials or be something that we're not. This is, this is who we are. We're trying not to exaggerate it. We're trying to just make it very straightforward and simple so that we don't have a bunch of people being like, why are you guys talking about it? You weren't even special forces, or you didn't do this, or you didn't do that. We just want to avoid that because it's a headache and a waste of time. With that being said, what we're going to do today is we have a kind of a list of critiques that I've written down from this video. So the first part I want to do is I'm actually going to take us through the critiques of Lucas, because I think that's a good part, or actually some of myself and some of Lucas. So just take us through those critiques. I'll kind of give my initial synopsis of it, and then I want both of you guys to break it down, because there's like 3 or 4 things that the guy that are really core points that he critiques and I want to talk about. And then we have another video that we're going to watch, and we're going to apply those same critiques that this gentleman is putting out to some different people and see how those line up and where maybe some of the holes in the argument are. But anyway, that's the point of the video. Yeah, so we'll get right into it. Do you guys have anything to add before we get into it?
No, I'm excited.
I'm ready.
Okay,
Let's
cool.
do this.
This first critique that we have here is basically, I'll summarize it really quick just because I've seen this, I've taken notes. But basically the critique here is, I think the terminology is head eyes behind the rifle, meaning that if you are coming out of cover or concealment to engage a threat or a known threat, you want to be behind your gun to cut down the amount of time it takes you to get sight picture, right? So if I know there's a dude on the other side of this corner and I'm about to peer around the corner, I want to be head eyes behind my rifle if I know that's a threat. So the critique here, I might let's let some of it play just because, why not?
Popping up and engaging. But first he's peeking, which is something, if you've ever been in a sim shoot house, you don't do because you'll catch rounds in the face. And if you do it in a real situation, like if it's serious enough for me to engage down range, press shots down range, then when I come back out of cover, my gun better be perfectly aligned and ready to press shots.
Okay, so I want to address that first because I know you guys are going to have something to say. So he's using an example of being in cover, and I better be basically right behind my gun, perfectly aligned and ready to go. One, that's a little unrealistic. What he's referring to, I think, is if you know exactly where that threat is and you're getting ready to either re-peek a threat or you're just positive that's a threat, then yeah, it's not a bad idea to be up and prepped and ready, which we'll see Lucas actually does here once he's identified. The issue with this, or what the critique that he's trying to make, you are forgetting a very, very big important thing, and that thing is called positive identification of your target. You need to be able to see someone, i.e. maybe hands or what they're doing or what's going on, before you can just engage that person. And I'll break down the example that he uses here of a dude chilling in a hallway and why that's kind of flawed and doesn't really work. But Eric, go ahead, and then Josh, I want to hear your thoughts on kind of what we're talking about here.
Yeah, so a couple things. I'm not sure if he's just not conveying his point in the way he's wanting to convey it, but having your eyes behind your optic and your head in alignment and then coming from behind cover in such an open environment like that is probably not the greatest idea, just because, it'd be different if you were peeking a door in a hallway or something like that, or in a structure. If you have obvious parameters set, then maybe. I would say at that point, just make sure it all comes out at once. It doesn't matter if your eyes looking through your optic, just make sure it all comes out at once. But in this scenario, you're going to need to be able to track in almost a 360-degree environment. So looking and peeking is not a bad thing. Just don't stay there the entire time, I think. That's my opinion on it.
No, I agree.
I can't say that if he didn't see someone at the beginning of a peek, he couldn't get up into a shooting position and make a shot.
Yeah.
Just make sure everything's kind of like there and it moves in unison. But don't search through your optic in a big environment like this. No.
Josh?
That was exactly what I was going to touch on. Is that if you're locked into your optic, what are you seeing? So you're already covering most of what you can see. And if they're working vehicles, especially with rifles, even depending on the distance, let's say they're on the other side of the car, targets are not stationary. So if you come up from cover and you're dead set looking through your optic because you think he's at the front of the vehicle, and then you come up, but you have an optic, especially in this case where he has it mounted onto his carry handle, that's going to take up a lot of your peripheral. So now you come up, you look over the front of the vehicle and no one's there.
Mhm.
And now you have no idea where they are, and they might be posted up on the other side because you haven't moved, or maybe you moved a little bit or not enough. One thing that I definitely will probably harbor back on multiple times is all of this stuff is training. If you're going to do things perfectly in training, then what was the point of training in the first place?
Then you're perfect, and we need you overseas.
Exactly. So to say that you must do one thing every time, always this way, this is the way you do it 100% of the time, we all know is already missing the mark to even start the conversation.
Absolutely.
It can't be that way for sure.
So what I think is interesting too, you guys are touching on it, but one thing, a big point that I make that I think about this too is, the term limitations to simulations. We need to understand something very specific about cardboard in its nature, which is something that people will say to Lucas often. Cardboard doesn't shoot back, right? Well, cardboard also doesn't make decisions. It doesn't move. Josh, what you're saying is totally valid, right? Cardboard is going to be in that same exact spot, right? But if let's say you're on one side, you get PID, you start engaging, and you duck back down like he's going to do a reload, you kind of need to get your head back up just in case that person has moved. Cardboard is not going to move on you, or if you're in a CQB environment. So it's very, very situational dependent. So that's kind of...
Does area have audio?
It does a little bit. So
did they call out another target? You know what I mean? Was he searching for something?
So basically, it starts out, when we watch it, I'll watch it one more time so we can kind of see it. I'll bring it back. And basically, the way it starts out...
But anyhow, he's actually using...
Right? You can see him right there. He does a good job of peeking out, right? He's up, kind of at a modified low ready. He identifies his threat, right? He goes, okay, that's somebody with a rifle, with whatever. That's my threat. Gun comes up. He presses 2 shots. And as soon as those 2 shots, he realizes, okay, I'm out of ammo, which is set up as him doing a drill. He reloads. And then when he comes back out and steps back out, he actually does a very good job of coming around the corner, trigger prep, because he has an idea of where that person's at. And then he just sees the person right to it, right? The target. So I'll finish that real quick.
Which is a shocker, which you'll see later. But he's popping
up.
Prepped
his trigger, and boom, takes his shot. So to me, I don't see big issues with this. And why I don't see big issues with this is, like you're saying, Josh, you're cutting off your field of view if you're just hunting.
That back one more time? Roll it back just a little bit, because if you look, he gets into his optic and then he takes a step.
He's actually using cover and concealment properly, which is a shocker, which you'll see later. But he's popping up and engaging. But first he's peeking, which is something
So if you see that, it looks like that the target was behind the vehicle. He had his muzzle just down, so he could scan. He took that step, saw target, confirmed, went up, took shots, and then got back. You know what I mean?
Right.
How can you say that's wrong?
Yeah. No, and I think that's really, I get the critique, and there is something to be said about head eyes, and what I want to do now is go to the example that he uses and break down why that example is disingenuous and not a very good example. So let me find right here. This is the example he uses in a hallway of basically saying, hey, this is why you don't want to do this.
It's serious enough for me to engage downrange, press shots downrange. Then when I come back out of cover, my gun better be perfectly aligned and ready to press
That's
shots.
just unrealistic.
If you pop up like this with your head first and your gun not up, 2 things are going to happen. When you see the threat, you're going to press the trigger where you are. So if your rifle's...
So one thing I want to show about this and why I paused it here, it's hard to tell, but the first thing that exposes on this guy, there's a couple things we just need to talk about in this example of, first of all, this is not anywhere remotely near the same thing that Lucas is doing, right? This is a person standing, this is force on force. This person knows that somebody is coming from that direction, right? They're sitting there holding a perfect angle. The first thing that gets exposed is this dude's leg. When you watch the video, if you play it slowly, you see the guy steps out with his leg. And then the guy leans out with his head, and his rifle's completely down. Not a little bit down, completely down. And of course he's going to lose, man. This guy's sitting here just holding an angle. He knows he's coming from that direction. In a close quarters environment, yeah, having the gun at a low ready and pieing off a corner is a lot better than kind of doing what this guy does where he peeks around a corner. But these two things, in my opinion, are not at all the same thing whatsoever.
No, the context is
Guy's
pretty
stance.
clear in the scenario that you see.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can
Also,
see
I'll
this
point
guy
out real
sit
quick.
there waiting.
Yeah, go ahead, Eric.
Yeah, I'll point out real quick too before you even see I guess I'm not even sure what's going on here, to be honest with you, who is who in this scenario. But when you see the gentleman down the hall, that's a light trap, essentially. The light coming in, it looks like maybe from a sliding glass door. That's a light trap. I think you see his shadow even before you see his leg.
Yep. Yeah. Not only that, but think
that's-
about this too. What PID did this guy in the room have? Did he even have a need for PID?
No.
Apparently
I'm
not,
assuming
because he
he's
just
a bad
started
guy,
shooting.
yeah.
There's nothing you can see, right? So that's another thing people don't think about is what if you're on this? What if you have to get positive identification of your target, which most jobs where most good guys have to get positive identification of their target, right? So if we're on the good guy side, PID is something we should be thinking about, and it's a lot easier to get PID on something when you're not tucked behind a little 2-inch circle.
Yeah. Yeah. There's just if somebody's waiting on you and has an angle on you, there's just really any amount of proper way to do this is still you're going to trade shots.
Yeah. Oh, and that's the other thing, Eric. You made this point. You could do all this stuff perfectly correctly and still die. Like that's just the reality of it. You can still die from so many different things because it's a dangerous thing by nature.
Yeah.
So that's the first critique we wanted to break down. My list basically looks like basically peeking cover is saying that's you never want to peek cover. And it's like, well, there's a difference between just leaning your head out, which the guy makes the comment, your head can't send bullets. Yeah, that's true. But you also need your head to be able to see things and bring your rifle to those things that you see. If you bring that rifle up, you're cutting off your field of view. Is there a place for it? Yeah, CQB, I could understand where there might be a place for it. But I would also like to caveat this guy whose head eye is behind his rifle. What happens if this guy dropped to a knee and exposed lower and the guy's rifle was in the way, he didn't catch it as soon, right?
Yeah.
Kind of a
It's
thought.
never a good idea to be sucked into your optic like that.
Yeah, I agree completely.
Mhm.
And then also you can watch plenty of videos of dudes who are more experienced than myself going through rooms, and we'll do that in a second, are not head eyes behind the rifle. But is there anything else to add to that little portion right there? I don't see that as a tactic that's going to get you killed. I just don't. I don't even really see it as a tactic, honestly. It's just
That's
the truth of the matter is like if you are trading shots with someone and a car is in between you and them, I would dare even say that you wouldn't be doing that much peeking either, and you wouldn't be doing that much shooting either. You would be trying to figure out how to return shots and then maybe get some distance. But
So the other thing that he says in here is he talks about, you're going to have that reaction, that oh shit reaction, and you're going to press those shots wherever you are. I'm sure both of you have seen in shoot houses and stuff. I know I've seen Lovall talks a little bit about it. I've seen a video where he talks about it. People generally press shots low when they're doing moving through buildings and stuff because they're looking and then they're like probably aiming right about the feet of whatever they see. And so when they see a threat, they react and they do drag the rifle up and press shots wherever they're at, right? So flip safe, press shots. And usually those shots are going to end up in the thighs or pelvic girdle before they drive up to more vital areas. But the pelvis is not a bad place. Failure to stop drills. So Eric, I know you've done that. Josh, you've been in some of those sim classes. You guys, Eric, what do you have to add that? Josh, is that something you've seen too as well?
yeah, totally. And then people also tend to weapon focus or, whatever the tertiary item is that gives them the okay to make a shot. They tend to weapon focus. So even if they have the jump, they'll still sometimes make shots on the actual object, which gives them the, PID or whatever you want to call it.
Threat focus of the hands.
Yeah, exactly. That's just something that happens. And then offset's a lot of issues too. Everybody trains offset, but like when you get in a shoot house and you start trading shots with people, especially force on force.
You're just trying to see your dot.
Yeah, you're just
somewhere.
You can. You're superimposing 3 sides of that optic or whatever it is on the thickest piece of meat you can see.
Yeah.
Should be anyway.
Josh, anything to add to that?
I don't really have much to add to that. I mean, once again, as you say, there's a limitation to the simulation. You can only do so much to prep yourself to react in the way you would react. And this is also that video that he's showing. I mean, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure the one standing there with the setup and the person that's in the back there, that kid's learning. You know what I mean? Whoever
Yeah.
that is, they're learning. They
Yep.
probably don't even know what they're. You know what I mean? So to use that as the example, I mean, they're just set up. It's a terrible way to.
I've said this about
show it
Sims
off.
and like doing this stuff, and I think when there's a certain limit to where it's like you want to give people, when you're doing force on force, you want to give them a lot to deal with, but there's also just lose-lose scenarios. If you tell someone that they're only to their non-dominant hand and they're entering a room that has one corner Fred entrance with several like dead spots they can't see, where multiple bad guys are going to hide in there, you're going to lose that fight. Like the odds are just against you. You could be the best trained person in the world. If you don't have a frag and you don't have a bang, and you walk there, you don't need to know tactics to realize that. They're just going to be watching that door. So that is something that does occur or does happen in training, is like people think, oh, the more screwed you are, the better the training is. And it's like, there's a limit to it, man. Like you should also know a fight that's just pointless to go into, in my opinion. So that does happen with a lot of those things. I agree. Okay, next critique. Anything else before we move on from there? Okay, cool.
No.
So the next critique is actually a little bit of a drill. I was not there for this. This is them working comms a little bit at the radio, of them having kind of a cool camera setup where you can hear what they're saying to each other. So I'll play this one.
Video in there. First things first. Don't use your radio that close to me. The video is called Shoot, Move, and Communicate or some shit.
Okay, so that's the first critique I have that this guy says is don't use your radio that close to me. To me, this lacks all sorts of context. This is taking something, and we'll do this with one of my training videos. We'll take a military video of me doing a field exercise and realize that everything is not literal, right? I can tell you so many dumb things that I've done in the Army where we're 5 feet away practicing radio etiquette. I mean, if you do EIB, you literally, expert infantry badge, at the EIB, the lanes, that's literally what they have you doing, is calling for fire on a sand table. That's not actually how you call for fire. You're not blowing those little sand tables up. You're practicing call for fire. Just like these dudes realize that, like, also there's totally reasons to use your radio that close to each other. If I'm 5 feet away from you, but we're in stealth, and I don't want to go, hey, I'm moving, and I want to just go, hey, set, go ahead and move. Whatever. Like, if I want to keep it quiet, I want to do that, there's reasons to use your radio that close to each other. That's just kind of a dumb statement, in my opinion. I don't know how to put it any better than that. What do you, anything to add?
Yeah, totally. I mean, I would say your radio's there for a reason. Use it when you need it. If not, don't use it.
Yeah. And for
I mean,
training, you're going to use
We've also
it.
been to the range too, right? We know the size of that range, and I know where those poles are.
Yeah.
If you're doing a training and you're talking about training and you're trying to use comms in your training, and you have a limited amount of space, then you basically what you're saying is if I have a small range and I want to practice comms and shooting that day,
I'm wrong.
and if I can yell across my range, I shouldn't use comms because I wouldn't need comms in that particular situation. So I shouldn't learn how to use comms. That's basically what you're trying to say.
Yeah, I don't think that there's a redemption to this argument in particular. Like, I'm going to try and be kind, but this one is, it's just kind of dumb. It's just nitpicky and kind of dumb. I get it, but I just don't think it holds any merit. So
It's like when you're writing a 5-paragraph essay and you need that middle part, and you're like, oh, I just need one more topic.
yeah,
I just need one more. What can
yeah, literally, it's
comms, I can do that one. Okay, I can write about that.
yeah, they're dumb. They're close to each other. Yeah, that makes sense.
So, the other side of that too is, and what most people don't think about is, I've been on a number of these like video and photo shoots. Like, that's not going to look as cool in a shot or in a frame, because you don't get kind of what they're doing. It's called shoot, move, and communicate. They obviously want to be communicating on the radio,
Yeah,
and they want everybody in frame so you can see, like,
I mean,
okay,
some of it
he
is
said
theatrical.
that.
Yeah,
it's that's what it is. I mean, it's entertainment. I mean,
yeah.
it's
And
a
that's the
YouTube
other thing
video.
that people need to realize about it is that when anytime you do media events like this, and Eric can attest to this, I can attest to it, there is a little bit of like, you have to go, okay, let's compromise here. Let's do this thing. This isn't how we do it in real life. And that is the same stuff that happens in the military and probably in law enforcement training too. There is stuff that is not real world, doesn't make sense. And you do it because it facilitates the training. Limitations to simulations.
Yeah.
Okay.
Otherwise, yeah.
Go ahead. No, what you say?
mean, how are you going to get used to using your radio? I mean,
Yeah.
you got to train to do it.
Yep, I agree. Okay, so
Jared, I'm sure it's happened to you too. Like when you're doing one of the field exercises and you turn your head around to go talk to someone, they drop one of those little 155 whistle motor type things. Like notionally, you're all dead. You didn't have your sector. So I turned my head to go talk to my sergeant.
yep,
It's like, yeah, you lost your sector, so you're dead.
yeah,
Well,
yeah.
You're just dead. This is just what happens.
That's that
And
type
then
of
now you can run through the scenario of a casualty.
yes.
Yeah.
No one died just now, but
Yeah.
why I'm putting a tourniquet on you because I need to learn how to do a tourniquet.
Yep.
But you're not bleeding out, so why am I putting a tourniquate on you?
Yeah. Yeah, and that's literally the argument behind it is what it breaks down to. So that's a good analogy. I didn't think about that, but that's very, very true as far as that analogy goes.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's a good point, Josh. People often, if they're not used to wearing comms or communicating through a push to talk, whenever they want to talk to somebody, they'll look at them, and that's just in some cases okay, but a lot of cases, especially like CQB environments, it's not okay to do that. Especially if you're like the main eyes-on guy. So
Yep.
training the PTT communicate will break you of the habit of reaching over your shoulder or looking behind you.
Yeah, very much so. Okay, so then it moves on. Let's see if I
It's on his Instagram, but they do none of these things well. First off, all the targets in this scenario can be seen from their initial position.
And that's
when
just
you
another one of those
engage, you
statements
want to
that you're
engage
like,
with as little
hey man,
movement
it's
as
paper, it
possible,
doesn't move.
unless the enemy force is moving on you or some sort of thing, or the situation dictates that you need to move.
Should have just
Movement
shot the
can
box
be-
when it arrived on my doorstep.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, you could also say this about qual. It's like, why don't you just put them all up so I can shoot them all from the same position? Like, why do I have to go prone? Why do I have to go kneeling? Like, what? Like, again, it's just a statement. You could see them all from one spot. Why would you be moving? Because you're training, and that's the purpose behind it. Obviously, if you don't need to move and you have clean shots on the targets in real life, I think some of this stuff just transcends common sense. Like, people would not do this. They wouldn't be like, oh, I need to move to get a, like, it doesn't. So anyway, I mean, that doesn't even need
That's
really
like USPSA. I can see all the targets from this one thing. Why would I move to the next stage?
Why don't I just shoot through all the walls?
Yeah,
Life in certain instances and movement can be, you get absolutely annihilated. So it's all situationally based, but what I'll tell you is wrong. And the problem with this is peeling this shit apart to show that he doesn't know what he's doing is going to teach him what he's doing wrong on his own without actually going to training. He's going to get rid of those videos and then be like, no, see, I knew how to do it the whole time. It's kind of like improving their lie. But anyhow, my man comes out, they start bounding all stupid for no reason, and the comments back and forth are not proper. If he had gone to a class or gone to the proper training, he would have known that it's moving is me telling the guy who's covering me that I'm ready to go. His acknowledgement to me is going to be move, and then after I hear move is when I go. It's not before. It's not I'm moving as you're moving. That's not how that works.
So what's hilarious about this? All of us are cracking up. I'm sorry, dude, but that is some pogue shit.
Yeah.
That is the only way I know how to say it. Is that is some straight out of the Navy's book of when we're in basic training, we do the same thing, man. This is like referencing the 3 to 5 second rush in basic training and saying that that's a good idea if you're in an open field taking fire. Is to I'm up, he sees me, I'm down. No, if you're in an open field and someone's laying into you, either lay down under micro train or book it. But it's the same thing in basic training, right? The react to contact is your squad's online or whatever, or even your fire team to make it simpler. You have Alpha and Bravo. And the way they teach you in basic training is this team, whoever's received, like they basically say, okay, one of you choose to bounce. So one of them says, cover us while we move. The other one says, we've got you covered. And then you yell out, moving. And you move up. And then you yell, set. And then they ask, cover us while we move. And then it just goes back and forth. What ends up happening is you waste a bunch of communication rather than just knowing what your job is. Whoever's taking the more direct and effective fire, they stay in position because they're pinned down. This other team just says moving to let them know. That team picks up their rate of fire, right? You do a mad minute, break contact, whatever. One team bounds up once they say moving. Then the team that immediately gets up there yells set. They know that their job is to cover the other team. That other team hears set and hears gunfire, and then they know when they can move, right? Here's the key about all this. if you think gunfire is not loud or someone with a belt fed, you're going to be able to be shooting up here, turn around and look at your buddy and yell at him in the middle of a firefight. Not really. So this is just, as soon as I got to my unit, they dumped that. They were like, nope, that's some dumb basic training shit. This is what we're going to do. You know your responsibilities. Be a squared away fire team. Eric, go ahead.
Yeah, if you're trying to teach like basic beginner stuff, communication when, moving either toward, laterally, or away from something, sure. But you don't have to say moving and all that shit. That just means like in some form or fashion, know a way to communicate. But gunfire is a way to communicate.
Mm-hmm.
It's, to me, that's an SOP thing.
Yep.
Nobody's doing that.
Yep.
Nobody's doing that. Like textbook, sure. No one's doing that. And when shit is going down inside or outside of a building, and I'm not even talking about shooting, I just mean like chaos and shit. It's not going to work.
Yep.
At all.
It's too much communication, in my opinion. Josh?
It's too much.
Yeah, I mean, it just sounds like he learned how to like draw his weapon from the holster by the numbers, and he still counts in his head. So
Well,
Fair
right.
enough.
Yeah.
you know.
I mean, if you train yourself to wait for a command, you're training yourself to like rely on something like an SOP to save your life. If you're not a think for yourself and you can't figure this shit out, like, I don't know what to tell you.
Thinkers
You're
before
gonna just-
shooters, right?
Yep, that's
Yeah.
a good Haley quote. And I don't want it to turn. I mean, look, man. At the end of the day, he came out and he attacked somebody, but at the same time, like, to me, it's like we're joking. It's not. This is not the. But it's kind of one of those things where it feels like it needs to be taken down a few notches because you're going to make a statement like people are going to die because of this stuff, and I just don't see it. I think it doesn't make sense. So. I don't, it's not a personal thing. We're going to make fun of it a little bit because we're all part of that culture and that's what we do. But the reality is this is not stuff that's going to get you killed. Look, if you want to try and do that, hey, cover me while I move. I've got you covered. Moving. Set. Okay, cover us while we move. If you want to do that, sure. In my experience, it doesn't work. In Eric's experience, it doesn't work. Josh's experience, it doesn't work. And we're going to show you a video of dudes who have 10 times more experience than myself not using this as a tactic or an SOP. So
I hope he does a video on me making fun of me because I could use a few more followers on Instagram.
Like,
yeah, you're right.
You remember when you remember like the big thing? It was like, I'm loading, I'm up. It's like you think where are you at? Like people understand English.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
especially stateside. So like, what do you do? What are you doing?
Yeah.
I mean, if you're just gonna blindly start running when someone yells set without hearing the rate of fire pickup, I mean, you're blindly following, like Eric was saying, you're blindly following SOP to ensure your own safety.
Yeah.
Instead of listening for the key things, you're gonna hear the machine gun or anyone's rate of fire, even a M4, whatever.
Yeah.
You're gonna hear that rate of fire increase. Now you know you can move. Or maybe they haven't stopped shooting at your direction yet.
Yeah.
Right? So you're just gonna jump up.
Yeah, it's blind and it's following. And the next thing that he critiques is the use of set. So we already talked about the moving stuff. I'll play this a little bit further so we can hear.
When you're getting behind cover of a vehicle, passes the engine block, which also conveniently has a clear line of sight of these targets. The engine block is key because it actually stops bullets unless there's like a 50 cal, or sometimes if it's a tiny like inline 4-cylinder, it won't stop 7.62 AP. But for all intents and purposes, let's say we got small arms here,
Quite specific.
peer to peer, and our op4
Sounds like
or
the
opposition
cardboard
force
has small arms.
is engaging from downrange. You want to be behind the fucking engine block because that's the only thing in a car that.
Okay, so this is a good one. And I think what to talk about this is, first of all, again, this is what happens in this community, right? That's not realistic. It would never happen. Cardboard doesn't shoot back. Cardboard now, it's so realistic this would never happen. You're not taking cover behind an engine block. Okay, look. Yes. If that cover is conducive to you engaging your targets, sure, use the engine block. But if that leaves one of your sectors uncovered, and like for instance, they're bounding past vehicles, right? So if whoever it was would have stopped at that hood of the vehicle and not cleared that dead space around the back of the vehicle and let his buddy bound past that car and hard expose himself through that little LDA right there, or whatever you want to call it, as he's crossing because he didn't fully clear that, well, then you have an issue, right? So sometimes, we had a kid on deployment that pulled security on a dirt berm. He literally, whatever was going on, we did a drill, and he literally was sitting there pulling security on a dirt berm. He got reamed. Was he in cover? Sure. But what's he watching? He doesn't even have a sector. He's not watching anything. So if you can watch your sector from cover, watch your sector from cover. If you can't watch it from cover, right, I can hide under a bunker or whatever and not be pulling security. If I need to move to concealment, but be able to watch my sector, I'm going to do that because I'm covering my buddy's movement to make sure he doesn't get shot. I'm looking for targets of opportunity, and we'll talk a little bit more about that with Set. But what do you guys have to add on that?
Again, I just think it's SOP related. Set is, you don't have to use that. Your responsibility to stay out of somebody's, line of fire is, it's yours. So
yeah,
do what you got to do.
Well, I just mean more so about the cover versus concealment thing. Cover's great, but if you can't see your sector from cover, then you need to move to concealment because you're visually watching to cover your buddy. Not so much that it's like, I mean, you can find a safe place, but if your sector of fire is this big where you think the person might be, but they shifted, and you're technically not covering your buddy, right?
Right. Totally. And I want to touch on, like, he's speaking in absolutes here. He's like, the engine block's the only thing that stops a bullet. Maybe. You can stack pillars, there's all kinds of stuff. Maybe. We know what is more likely to stop bullets.
Yep.
But speaking in absolute, like, that's the only thing. No, it's not.
Yeah. There's some people that would say the best way to to end a gunfight is well-placed shots that end the threat.
Yeah. And if all you have is a car, I mean, that's all you have. But me, I'm getting the fuck away from my car.
Yeah, they're bullet traps. Josh?
Yeah, I mean, and you can see like where his mind is going. Like it's like we're fighting the Russians. Like he's assuming he's fighting Russians.
Mm-hmm.
A 50 cal. He's talking about armor piercing rounds.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, who does he think they're fighting against? And once again, multiple targets, cardboard targets, doesn't necessarily have to be multiple people.
Yep.
It can be one person moving, and you need those in places to simulate movement. So he's saying, well, you can see all those targets from the front. Well, maybe the target that was the one that was his, he couldn't.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I remember from Petty's class is he's analytical. He takes all that data.
Yeah.
He doesn't care who wins the gunfight around a vehicle. He just wants to know who wins.
Yep.
And statistically, more people won from the rear of the vehicle than the front.
Mm-hmm.
Statistically. But that's where the engine block is, right? Yes, of course it is. But once again, like Eric was saying, you can stack pillars. I mean, a bullet, what if there's just a guy with a 9mm handgun? Yeah. What are they training to a standard of? A 9mm handgun through the skin of a vehicle, maybe it won't stop it, but it might deflect it. Maybe it's going to go through that thing. It has to go through both sides to hit you unless they're putting it straight through the window. Yeah. And a lot of guys will tell you if you shoot through glass, it's kind of a crapshoot of where it's going to go.
You don't know.
You can't.
The path, yeah.
Yeah, so, and once again, they're not firing yet. And we're just assuming they're under like a hail of gunfire. You know what I mean? Like maybe
you don't know the scenario
hasn't started yet.
Yeah, you don't know.
Maybe the one is down. He doesn't have something. The nitpick training scenarios against paper and stuff like this is you never see the entire picture, especially when you're going to show just that little piece.
Yeah, you don't see angles.
Once again,
we're
talking about this was a filming thing.
Yeah,
they wanted to show something. You know what I mean? They're trying to make it entertaining. They're trying to make it look good. The way the frame is set up, looking through, I mean, you had that multiple planes. That's cinematic.
Yep.
That's what they're going for.
Absolutely. Yeah, so then what moves on, he talks about...
the highest likelihood of stopping bullets.
Oh, might have to fast forward here.
So they bypass that entirely and start shooting through the other parts of the vehicle, which is stupid. Then more bad communicating. Then Drew Hopkins, which we're also going to talk about here in a minute. Good old Drew, he says, I need cover. So he leaves cover because Lucas is reloading, goes way out into the open.
So, a couple things. Lucas isn't the one shooting. That's Josh. The reason, again, There's reasons why you might change the angles. I can't see the angle of this range, but he might be putting offset between his cover and be able to lean over the hood to see what he's seeing. I kind of doubt when he says, I need cover, I don't think he means physical cover. I think he means cover from the person that's shooting him, because he's going to try and pie out and see the target. And I have really good examples of each one of these things that this guy's critiquing on another video that we're going to watch. But you don't know the angles. You can't tell what's going on. Maybe he was exposing himself. Guess what? Sometimes you're looking for someone in the wrong spot, and they could expose themselves to a pretty compromising place where you're not going to be in great cover. And we'll touch on that later. But I just don't think, oh, look at this, he's using poor use of cover. This one's kind of simple. It's just, you don't know the angles. You don't know where the targets are at.
To cover him, instead of covering him from a position of cover and concealment, which he had, which he didn't have to really move from, and could have been laying down.
All subjective. You don't know where the targets are at.
We
Then
didn't even
Buddy
take any shots.
goes around
So
to
where
take,
was the threat at?
bound and get the next point, and he sets up and he calls set. This I'm going to spend a little more time on. If you call set and you're not set, and I get shot by sim rounds, I'm going to fuck you up.
No, you're not. No, you're not. Because I'm going to beat the shit out of you.
SRFA schoolhouse, which is like very basic, slight, very
His only
slight.
schoolhouse was
Okay,
basic.
so this guy, he goes on a little bit about his point about saying set, and this is another one that I will literally will show you
Just
why.
so stuck on a military term.
Yes, so
can be
set is
anything.
not a bad thing. Set can literally mean I'm set, I'm not decisively engaging, but I'm searching for targets of opportunity. This goes back to exactly what I said. If you're defining set as behind your optic, head eyes, watching this one little area, and I move out and I get hard exposed because you're glued to your frickin' rifle optic, then I'm not going to fuck you up. I'm probably going to get fucked up because you're not doing your job. You're not watching what's going on, right? There are certain situations. What Josh is doing here is he's changing angles, trying to see what's going on. Again, it's cardboard. What is he looking for? He knows where the cardboard's at, right? We can't simulate that. So what he's doing is he's cognitively going, let me make sure I'm scanning this general sector. Is it perfect? No, but he doesn't actually have anything that's making decisions down there to draw his attention. So it's going to look like this. There's nothing wrong with this. This is him cognitively going, okay, scan, search and assess. I'm set. Go ahead.
He's problem solving.
Yes.
I mean, technically, by this dude's explanation of what he considers set, Josh was set. He was set on the vehicle that he's set at. I mean, you can move back and forth behind that one piece of whatever you want to call it, concealment cover. I mean, you're still
and it
set.
depends.
You're
I mean, if you know where the person is, if you know you've got someone pinned down, then sure, you should be set behind your rifle, providing cover fire. But they're not in contact right now, right?
Right.
They're moving as if it's kind of like contact is likely, but it's not happening. So set can mean different things, and it's not this monolithic term that just means I'm behind my optic decisively aiming at something.
Now, if you have to, you have to. Hopefully, it's an armored truck, but we're not working with Bearcats here.
Once again, we're stuck on the military thing.
Funds transfer vehicles, aka armored cars. So my man is behind some bombed out vehicle saying set with the gas tank, which point
Again, so just more pointless
with
stuff
an
I don't
empty
even think
gun.
is worth.
If
Well,
you
gas
run
tanks
up
do
to
explode
cover,
if you shoot them. I don't know if you've seen the movies lately.
he runs up to the corner to take point.
Okay, so this one is
immediate
interesting.
headshot. Then we go to the last thing that I'm going to hit on this video. He runs up to the corner to take point with an empty gun. If you run up to cover your team with an empty gun as the point, you're dead, and they're probably fucked.
Assuming
But
that was empty.
Yeah, so
Not
a couple things about that.
Reload.
He wasn't necessarily the point. They actually ended up, what it looked like, taking contact from the right back towards Drew's at. Could he have finished that reload behind cover? Sure. Maybe he could have. But maybe he got up and was like, damn, my mag's a little light. I'm going to just reload real quick. I've made this point about transitions, right? If you're 25 meters out from a target, your gun goes down for whatever reason. In my head, I go, okay, 25 meters, I can feel pretty good about engaging that with a handgun. So my default should be just go straight to that handgun because it takes me less time and it's a more gross motor skill that is a higher percentage chance that I do it in a shorter amount of time. A lot of big words. But if I do that and I start to do a speed reload, I'm just going to finish the speed reload and go with it, because it's always going to take more time for me to stop mid-speed reload, try and restow that magazine and be like, wait, I need to do the right thing. I made a mistake. The same principle here. If you're moving up to cover, yeah, could he have had the gun up, ready to go, hide that corner? Sure, maybe. I guarantee you, if it was real life and he thought that there was someone around that corner that could kill him, he probably wouldn't have done that, or would have stopped and like reloaded and moved up to it, right? It's all so subjective, or dynamic, whatever you want to call it.
I mean, and they're acting like Josh is a high-speed operator. He's been training for I don't even know how many years now.
He's also
not gonna
spent
be
some time
perfect
with
in everything he's done.
Yeah, and he's also
And he
been
was
trained
trained
by
by
formal.
some-
I was going to say he's also been trained by
Exactly.
some Ranger Bat dudes and some Marine
Yeah.
Corps guys. So
I mean, in the back of your mind, you know where the targets are.
Yeah.
So if you're coming up to the end of this vehicle and you know my mag's light, I'm gonna do administrative reload when I get here, because I know everything's back over to my left, or to my right rather. You know what I mean? Like, the remove gaming something is hard to remove when you're in a scenario where it's not actually shooting back at you.
yes,
And
I
once
totally
again, I don't remember when Lucas or any of them ever said, I am the definitive tactics man, and watch me do everything correctly.
never. And if you're getting your
You're-
tactics from one source, I'll say this as a blanket statement: if you get your tactics from one source, not a good idea. Branch out, find out what you disagree with, and find out what you agree with. Don't just find one
Eric
thing.
through executive training group.
Yeah, come to executive. We know everything.
Come
Exactly.
to me. After this, I'm not going to be on the internet anymore.
Start this one. This one I think is
my
a
favorite part.
Well, I think this is an actually like semi-merited one, but is it merited in the way that like, is it as big of a deal as he does? So we're just gonna watch this.
It's not even that he couldn't get the mag out of his bank robber vest thing he has. It was that
How dare
he
him.
loaded a magazine, like he reloaded the gun with a full mag, and then dropped it and checked it again. And this is from the guy that I don't use windowed PMags because I know exactly how many rounds are by feel.
Okay, so this is a
Yeah, that's kind of.
look. Here's the thing. What he does there, and what's funny is this guy doesn't even mention something that I think is a better critique or a constructive critique. I do that sometimes. Guess what? When you get done with USPSA, guess what you do when you get done with the USPSA match? They tell you unload, show clear. You unload the magazine, rack the round out, dry fire and holster up. Never once while I have been doing a force on force class or in force on force have I ever got done dealing with a threat and been like, unload, show clear. I also do that when I'm running drills. I'll drop the mag at the end to just see where I'm at. Okay? Never once in a force on force have I ever done that or ever thought about doing that in any of those situations. Now, do you need to check your ammo that much? Not necessarily. So let me attack that real quick. It's not necessary. It's excess movement. You don't need to tack mag and then recheck your magazine. You don't need to. Okay, that's my attack or my critique on it. But one valid critique, I think, is he actually goes to tack mag from the most accessible magazine on his chest rig, which is this one right here. So he tack mags from that most accessible and then takes that half-empty magazine and puts it back in that most accessible pouch.
Yeah.
I think a better SOP, if we're talking tactics, when you tack mag, if everything's copacetic and relaxed, the gunfight's over, go to that like least accessible magazine pouch that you're not going to want to go to under a rush, tack mag from there, and put that empty back in that part. I have a 30-minute video on the YouTube channel talking about administrative reloads not getting enough love, okay? Now, let me defend what he's doing here. When you are done taking contact in the military, the drill is you get done and you get your BDAs, but one big thing that you do, and there's no measured amount of time when it happens. I've had it happen immediately once the targets are down. We finish our qual or whatever, targets go down, and everyone walks around and they get what's called an ACE report, right? And that's where you're saying, ammo, casualties, and equipment, right? Do you have all your stuff? Do you need anything? What's the round count? And you're literally taking stock at an individual level, passing it up to a team leader passes to squad leader, passes up. How is what Lucas is doing right after this drill any different than that? That's my defense of it. Now, could he wait a second longer? Tell me the amount of time you're supposed to wait. If it starts showing up in force-on-force training, I will be the first one to say, bad habit, you need to wait X amount of time so your brain can differentiate it. That's just my 2 cents. I pass it off to Eric.
Yeah, so I'll pick it apart real quick. I understand that there may be a need for a tack mag or what everybody calls it. But if I've just been in a pretty big gunfight and I've decided that the lull is there. Me personally, I'm not going to retain that and do the swap thing. I'm probably just going to drop it on the deck, get a fresh one in my gun, make sure that I'm good to go. Like, are my bad guys down? What's the status of my gun? Obviously, I just reloaded a fresh mag. And then I'm going to just reach down and grab that magazine off the deck. Or I'm going to leave it. I don't really know. Maybe.
I've never heard that, but that's a solid thing, and especially for law enforcement, totally makes sense. I've said this before about LE, like, don't tack mag, just drop that. Like, odds are you're not dealing with that much of a firefight, and you could be like, oh god, but yeah, I think that's solid for the job. Josh, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, combat losses are a thing, so they have a lot of extra magazines, and I know Lucas has a lot of extra magazines, and he also owns that range, so he could go back and pick it up.
Yeah,
but it's just we're just nitpicking like little silly things at this point.
Yeah,
that was a tack reload, right, and not like on empty.
No, yeah, it was a tack.
I've known people to put a mag in, send the bolt home, and if you load 28 rounds, you're gonna have your was it on the right or left side is gonna be your one bullet. So you pull the mag out instead of chamber checking, because chamber checking can induce a malfunction potentially. So you pull the mag out. All right, it was on the left, now it's on the right.
Yeah,
I know I have a round in chamber. Now I've known people that do that are like very anal about that type of thing, and very like
watch your mouth.
I know it's very dirty now, but get it, but that there's so many different ways to do things, and I mean, if you watch any of his videos, when he does any drill, at the end of the drill, even if he does he does that same thing with a Glock all the time. Why do you think he's just gonna like automatically change over because he's using a rifle? He's drilled that like into his thing. It's even in Call of Duty, isn't that?
Yeah, like, but that's the key, is that it's not like sticking to the point. It's not going to get people killed, though. That's the point I'm making, is I've never seen that habit in myself manifest. I don't do it as much as he does it, but I do it, and I have never seen that manifest when I'm doing a force-on-force thing, and it's because it's different, man. It's almost like the argument of like if you're doing jiu-jitsu and you're drilling a move, and you're like, well, when I sweep someone, I just stand up when I'm rolling because I'm used to sweeping them and then going back to the position. So like, no, that never happens. You sweep someone and you stay in mount, or you stay in whatever. Like that type of mentality. There is a big difference between having different outputs around you that you're able to react to and go, I'm in danger. I'm just not going to be like, boom, 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 shoot someone and be like, like it's just not, to me, it's not conceivable. If we start seeing it in force on force, then I'll be the first person to call it out and say, hey, it's not really a needed thing, or make sure you save this amount of time in between quote unquote fake engagements to where you can take the time to do that. So just my
I want to touch on something that he hasn't even brought up yet. He keeps saying that'll get you killed. That'll get you killed. Being in a gunfight could get you killed.
Yeah, having a dirty rifle in a gunfight could get you killed.
I mean,
the injection port cover might get you killed.
Let's talk about the most dangerous thing here is like actually shooting back and forth with somebody else.
Yeah.
That's the most dangerous thing.
Yeah.
Everything else is just like, fuck it,
Yeah. And this should be what reloads and tac mags should be like. I can't even make my fingers small enough to illustrate how little of a gunfight it should be. Like
probably like probably like as small as Josh Wiener.
True, it's true. But we make that stuff in. If we make this stuff about it that's what we make it about the industry. It's the sexy stuff. It's the cool things, right? Speed reloads look cool.
But before that, I want to say this real quick, and I know we're probably like halfway point of the video.
Yeah.
As someone whose literally entire career was Monday morning quarterbacked, everything I've ever done on video or captured by another video or whatever, it's really easy to pick apart any video. I could take someone doing it flawlessly and say, well, you see how you shuffled your feet there? You could have slipped on a rock. That'll get you killed. Right? So, like, we got to lay off that shit.
Yep.
This is training, right? And even more so, he's not teaching you to do anything here. That's what the big uproar is about. So he made a video called Shoot, Move, and Communicate. That's great, man. I've made just as well as you have. I made tons of skateboard videos when I was a kid. Put them on the internet, but I didn't say like this is training.
Yeah,
like this is how you do it.
Also, you can access this information. It's in the It's in the Ranger Handbook. It's in the Ranger Handbook. All this stuff is public information. You want to go read the Ranger Handbook. Yeah, I agree. I think that's a very valid point.
Yeah. So like Lucas ain't perfect. I'll pick him apart any day. But is that like a positive thing we should be doing? because there's about 1 billion videos on YouTube that I could go through.
Oh yeah, yeah. We're about to pick apart once we get done with these critiques. We're gonna pick one of my videos quickly apart, the field training thing, just to prove to people you can take any sort of
I'm gonna
training.
need some time on your video, actually.
Yeah, I bet you will. Okay, so
I bet you will.
let's
Pause
see.
that.
This is
Wait
the next
a
one. So
second.
now we go into the airsoft thing, and this is actually me doing limited penetration. You're gonna get a kick out of this, Eric. So I'll just play it through. We can listen to his critiques. But yeah.
No
Airsoft,
muzzle
man. It's
discipline,
fun.
just hilarious. And then later down the video, they go by a door and they have this fucking tea party in front of it. If the door's open, you go in. You don't just sit there in front of the fucking.
Okay, so that was me that did that limb pin right there. Okay, if you don't think limited penetration room clearing is a thing, go have a conversation with like, I don't know, 80% of like active duty SWAT and SF and all sorts of people. Limb pin is 100% a thing. Okay, in basic training, they teach you button hook left, button hook right. If the door's open, flow in. A couple reasons why the door was open and I didn't flow in, and I decided to pie it off. One, it's dark. I want to
dark
see.
as fuck.
Yeah, super dark. I wanted to see into that room, right? Two, my teammate, Drew, was a couple steps behind me because I entered that room and I realized I felt the spatial distance, as you should do in CQB, keep track of where your dudes are at.
It's fine.
I felt the spatial distance happening between me and the guy that I was going to, and you should do that stuff if you can. You know, if you can feel it, do it. And that's why I waited. And I pied off that room, and then it's funny, he says no muzzle discipline, but I want to rewind that again real quick, and we'll take a closer look here at what no muzzle discipline looks like. I dipped the muzzle right there, much like somebody who has been trained in this stuff before. So I don't really understand where the whole no muzzle discipline thing is coming from in that situation. Eric, tear it apart, man. If I did something horrible there, let me know.
No, I mean, no. I would say, well, one, because it's dark, you're definitely going to want a limb pin.
Yeah.
Two, you don't know the terrain. So this is not gaming shit here. This was not a cinematic video that you guys set up. And
no, I've never been in that room before.
Right. So limb pin is the way.
You know where it's also really the way? When you're playing airsoft and people can't shoot through walls. Or when you have, like I had on that room, cinder block.
Right.
I'd rather get in a gunfight with some cinder block between me and whoever's in that room. And I also don't want to walk into the middle of that room when there's 3 dudes in there and try and have a conversation with all 3 of them while my team's a couple steps behind me.
Yeah. I will say that who was that, Drew going in?
Yeah, right. Here, I'll play it again. Right after, so I'm the one who pies.
So your muzzle discipline is
Later down the
fine.
video,
I mean, you checked
they go
up.
by a door and they
you're
have
not
this
flagging
fucking
him.
tea party in front of it.
Tea party. I don't even know what he's saying.
If the door's open, you go.
He's talking about staying in front of the fatal
sitting
funnel.
around or waiting in the fatal funnel.
Yep.
First of all, don't get me started on that. That's not a thing.
Yeah.
That's not a thing.
Yep.
You talk about fatal funnels, talk about hallways and stairwells.
Yep. Well, and I do
Doorways.
want to say I got stuck on that doorway. Funny enough, right? They cut the video right there, but to be fair, to make fun of myself a little bit, when I went through there, I had like something like a door hinge or something was hanging out like a perfect hook, and I went through and it like snagged me, so I had to like elbow it and move through. But if you're telling me that's never happened to you before, you're lying.
Yeah.
That's real life shit right there.
Yeah,
That's real.
Yeah.
And the real life shit is not pretty. It's not cinematic at all.
Yeah.
There's plenty of body cams from tier 1 guys out there floating around the internet. Look at it and you're going to be able to pick that shit apart too. But again, limb pin, if you're not doing limb pin under darkness, you're fucking retarded. Sorry. It's just
Security. Stealth is your security. Security's another thing.
Reason to rush into a dark ass room and trade gunshots at bad breath distance with a guy when you could shoot him and let the brass fall in the hall. Period.
Yeah, that's a good statement. And this will be actually this next thing that we're getting ready to look at. You know, another statement that the guy made in here somewhere was, you can tell nobody's ever done this before. So for that portion, I want to say, hey, what's up, man? 11 Bravo, been formally trained in this, and then just drop the authority behind the argument, right? I don't care to argue from I was 11 Bravo, I did this, and I went to here and do that. I want to argue from a point of common sense and analytical thought, what makes sense versus what doesn't. Not just, I went to a school, they taught me a thing. And honestly, when I was in basic conventional infantry, I didn't learn limb pin. I didn't learn it. The first time I saw limited penetration was from Drew Estel. That was the first time I was like, oh, limited penetration. And then it just built, and I tagged on with dudes that have been graceful enough to show me it, right? So that is a position of, hey, that's an ignorant statement to say people have never done this before, because we have, and we were formally trained in it, and I practiced it a good amount because we were in a reconnaissance unit where we had to learn how to clear rooms quietly and use, besides verbal cues like set and moving, we had to learn how to actually clear rooms there. So just want to say that and drop the argument from authority now.
Yeah. Don't you dare argue from authority.
So this next one is pretty interesting. I'll let it roll a little bit, and then I want to talk about
Wait. Josh, what do you want to say about that?
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Go ahead, Josh.
I mean, I'm good. You pretty much covered everything. What can you really say about it?
Limited pen.
You tell us.
That's pretty much how I would have done it. I don't know.
Okay, cool. All right.
Yeah, limp pin's the way. If you don't know what limp pin is, get at me.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of good videos, multitudes of good videos out there. Take things from the ones that you like. Go take classes. And we'll talk a little bit. I guess now's a good point to say it. But when we're talking about all this stuff, just because it's training, like people think you watch a video on the internet and that's training, that's just knowledge. Like that's just, Travis Haley said that in a video. Knowledge is not power, it's potential power. And I think that's such a good quote there. You can see something good on here and get quote unquote what you think is training, but until you go actually run it through the ringer and give it a shot and try and get behind comms and do all that stuff, that's where actual training comes into play, and you'll be able to figure out a lot of stuff. There's limitations to that where you're going to need other people to come in and help you develop, and then there's a lot of stuff you can do yourself if you're analytical. So I just wanted to put that out there because I think that's a solid point of saying just because you're watching something doesn't mean it's training. That's potential. It's knowledge. That's potential power. Okay, we'll move on with this.
And then they rush in there. You can tell they've never done it.
What's ironic about that is that guy. That's the guy that's on the front of the stack right there. He's a veteran too. But yeah.
Looks okay at first, almost looks okay, and then they start speed softing through there.
Right there, you can see Drew took cover behind. What's funny about that is you see Drew. I think it was Drew. It was either Drew or Lucas. One of them takes cover behind an engine block with a big piece of cement, almost like they understand real cover and concealment, right? So given a car with down a hallway, what did they take cover behind? They defaulted to the engine block because they knew they could see their sector of fire from that engine block. Now, he makes a comment about speed softing, and what I want to try and do is this was what I thought about. Just like Airsoft. He's like, now they start running down a hallway. Okay, look. What do you think the maximum effective range of an Airsoft gun is? It's like 100 feet, okay? So max.
I don't do math, so I don't know.
Yeah, so if you're running down a hallway playing, this is still Airsoft, right? We're trying to go get into a BB fight because it's fun. If you have, let's say you have two enemy opposing forces, and let's say one of them is closer to cover and concealment. They're 50 meters from cover and concealment, and we're 100 meters from cover and concealment. Both of us have 100-meter weapon systems. Whoever closes and gets to cover and concealment, if we move into that 100-meter engagement, we're screwed because they can engage us at 100 meters. Sure, we can get near them, but they're in cover and concealment, right? So your options are, if this were real life and we have real guns that could cover real sectors of fire past 100 feet, yes, we would probably either be bounding, right? Successive or alternating bounding, covering each other. But it doesn't matter. All we're going to do is get caught with our pants down in an airsoft match like this. So that's why you're seeing this. Again, context is everything, right? The maximum effective range of an airsoft gun has a lot to play with the way you're going to move across one of these giant hallways. There were also several times where we stopped and we'd see someone at the end of the hallway and wave to them. And that's unrealistic. You're right. But that's a limitation to the simulation of airsoft. And it's also a limitation to the simulations of sim rounds.
Yeah, so I was about to say, even with UTM rounds, it's about the same at maximum effective range.
Yeah. So that's just to say that this is a tactic, too, that we're teaching. I made the comment to Lucas about this when we had all these dudes swishing around with their BBs and everything. And I said, we're under night vision moving down this exact hallway at night. And I just said, if we were going to do this in real life, we would be using stealth as our security, meaning we'd be just nice and slow, scanning what's ahead of us, looking for where we can sprint to cover. And if we took contact, it would either be break contact or mad minute and push through if you're crazy, whatever. Those are real tactics. But to say that he's teaching a bad tactic or that this is going to get you killed, common sense, man. It's airsoft. There's limitations to simulations. So that's my 2 cents on that part. The entry looked great. Button hook left, button hook right. They kind of set up converging sectors, and they went. There's another part up here.
He collapsed in. That's why he was looking the opposite way. Right?
Yeah.
Who's covering What are your fields of fire? Where's the rest of your team? If you leave half your team behind, that's fucked. Like, just an absolute.
Also, half of these dudes
horror
weren't even
show.
T.REX Arms,
They would
dude. They were
immediately
just
get picked
airsofters.
Yeah,
Yeah.
random.
So, that's the other critique that he has is like, oh, you leave your team behind. I saw some pretty solid sectors of fire off the front of the muzzle there, and I don't really have any issues with what happened there, in my
And
opinion.
And they even cross sectors of fire to
He's
pick up
covering-
what
He
cross.
immediately. And
Yeah.
I hope he.
Absolutely. Let me fast forward. I mean,
You know.
yeah, the converging sectors of fire, going cross coverage, all that stuff was there, right? So this next one is actually me again, me and Drew clearing, and I don't know, I forget kind of what his critiques were on this one, but basically just says nobody's done this, you can tell, is what his statement is.
And then the very first couple of seconds they go in, he immediately gets swept by his number 2 or number 3 guy, just completely swept, and no muzzle discipline, just hilarious.
Okay, so little known fact about the third guy in that stack. So Drew was number 1, I was number 2. Third guy is a random airsofter who does not have any CQB experience, and that's part of the reason we were outreaching to airsoft people is to get them to learn muzzle discipline, right? So yeah, he did sweep Drew, but he's just some random airsoft kid that doesn't know, right? He's never been in the military. I don't even think he shoots like real guns like this, like we do. So, but everything else about that, for you to look at that one dude and say no muzzle discipline, that's not true. Like Drew dug his corner, cleared dead space behind the door, and that was a super legitimate thing. My only one critique, Drew is used to paintball and moves a little bit fast sometimes. That, me and Eric both, we did that when we went to the other one. We had the same issue where all of us were saying, hey, slow down a little bit, chill out.
Slow down.
But that's normal. Sometimes I get amped up and I move too fast. So again, what can you say about that? So that's the last critique that he had. I don't think there's anything else critique-wise of that video. If you guys have anything, closing statements on that portion, and then we're just going to watch 2 videos and then we're going to call it.
Yeah. My closing
I don't
statement
really
on all those critique videos are put something that you've done up, let someone return the favor. I don't know. I mean, it's easy to be the guy that picks apart everything. Don't destroy the doers.
Mm-hmm.
Unless
you can analytically do it.
Training class like he runs, because I want to take that class because he has like all the right answers, and I want the right answers also.
Yeah. Well, and that's the key is
I'm
like
willing to learn from a lot of people, so I'll go to what was his Navy man?
yeah. Go to a Navy
We
man
can
class.
Spray each other down with hoses before we do it. I don't care.
Sounds
Yeah,
good.
I don't hate him because he made the video. I mean, shit, if he wants to try to be analytical guy, I mean, there's people that do that. But
Yeah. That's
you
the
have to
entire
understand
purpose behind it. Is I'm not trying to
everything's
tear
in
anyone apart.
context.
Yeah, it's just the reason that I wanted to make this is because I think there's people out there, consumers, who are watching T.REX videos and see this kind of thing happen, and they're like, "Oh, some veteran is ripping apart T.REX arms," and it's like a lot of times the dudes that we are perceived as getting in an argument. I don't want to argue about it. I just want to provide a different perspective to it, so that people can kind of go, "Oh, that makes sense," and just think about it. But sorry, I interrupted you, Eric. Go ahead with what you were saying.
I mean, you just piggybacked on it. That was exactly what I was. Yeah, good.
All right, here we go. All right, so I'm already recording. I'm just going to start right into it. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take a look at some
Plug it right in the
professionals.
pussy. Sorry, you're gonna start it up again.
God damn it, I got to start over. All right, so the next thing we're going to
Black
do.
penis. Oh, shit.
That's actually okay. You can say that's politically correct.
Yeah.
As long as it was black. If it was white, it'd be a problem. All right, so
Korean dick.
the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to take a look at some dudes who are some solid professionals. I don't know all of their backgrounds, but I would imagine there's some Green Berets in there. There's some, dudes that have done a lot more stuff than I've done. So they're really, really squared away. But the purpose behind this is not that we think we're better than them or we know more things. All I simply want to do is I think this is a phenomenal video. I think it's well executed. I think it's very good. They know what they're doing. It is also cinematic. So I want to caveat with that. So some of the critiques that we have might just be due to the fact that it's cinematic. And keep in mind, we're not applying our critiques to this. These are going to be the critiques that were applied to the T.REX Arms video, and we're also going to apply them in good faith to this video. You guys will probably recognize this. And yeah, we're just going to play this one through.
I really like this video.
Yeah, me too.
Were you involved in this, Eric?
No. No way. I'm not cool enough to know any of these guys.
Okay, so first thing happens right there. We see it right off the bat. When this guy comes out of the vehicle, he is not head eyes behind his gun, right? So there we already have the critique would be, whenever you expose yourself, if you know there's a threat, you want to be behind your gun. Okay, look, man. Good luck teleporting that rifle through the A-pillar of a car. You're going to have to be not head eyes behind the gun. And he also gets PID on his target and engages this right away. Right? Is that a fair critique?
Yeah, he should have stayed sitting too. He would have been lower, so he was farther behind the engine block.
There you go, right? Why don't you just shoot through the windshield? You could literally, over and over and over again, he just gave up cover for concealment, right? So that's our first one.
I like his hat. Oh my god.
Okay, you could make critiques there about saying that guy reached around. You could also be like, oh, he left the gun. He didn't take the gun with him. He just set the gun down on the floor. That's not good, and you're going to leave that around or whatever. So that's another one you could be nitpicky. But the reality is like he knows the guy is going to be a good bad guy, and he shot him, so he's going to play dead. You could literally find any reason to be like, well, what if that? What if this? What if that? Right?
Yeah. He didn't double lock those handcuffs.
Yeah, so there's another one. You saw that guy getting out of the car, and he was low ready getting out of the car. He knew there were threats over there. He wasn't head, eyes, muzzle behind the gun, right? So, yeah. Wait, what just happened? Did that guy just yell moving and
I didn't hear
move
anyone say set.
without
Did you?
hearing set or his teammate telling me could move? What? So, I don't know who this dude is, but he works for the Northern Red. I assume.
actually heard it. It sounded like this. It sounded like. It was like real quiet. If you rewind it, you can hear it.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Rewind it. Seriously. Rewind it.
That's you, Eric.
Oh,
Yeah,
Sorry.
that's not in the
I
video.
heard it too. I had to get my ear close to
I
it.
tried.
So here's the next one. When we watch him come around this corner, can I slow how fast this plays down?
Yep.
Oh yeah, you can. Oh, that's so cool. Okay, our playback speed is now 1.5. When he comes around this car, I want you guys to watch this carefully. Oh, look, he wasn't perfect head, eyes, muzzle. He looked, identified where his threat was, right? So there'd be another critique. What did that guy just yell, guys, before he was set? What did he yell? Let's watch that again.
I think
I
it's
don't know. It was
set.
just slow motion. It sounded like maybe threat.
Maybe. Could have been. Could have been threat. Where did he yell set before he was set? Technically.
Yeah.
But was
before
he
turned
decisively engaging anything? He yells set right here. Was he decisively engaging anything, or was contact up there and he was just getting to a sector and scanning for potential targets and therefore he was set? Right? So there it is. A professional who's formally trained, very good at this stuff, using the same tactic that T.REX Arms was apparently using.
Yeah, by the way, there's nothing wrong with saying set before you've like come to a stopping position, I guess is what the guy's critique was.
Yeah. No, there's nothing. And that, again, to clarify, these are not our critiques. We're applying the same critiques that were applied to the T.REX video to this video. Okay? So there is a hint of sarcasm going on. There it is again, moving. Oh, he just took a corner without a gun. That was another thing, right? Why would you go around a corner with a gun not loaded? Well, that guy just went around a corner without a gun at all. So, maybe situation dependent, right?
Maybe it's a scenario and he knows there's nothing there.
Yeah, wow. Wild.
Yeah, it's crazy how that works.
Right? He just didn't look like he was coming around that corner head eyes, right?
Did he?
No. Right? Okay, right there. That's another one I want to point out. Let me pause it on that. See if I can get it to pause right there. Okay, perfect. So right here, this is him crossing with nobody covering him, right? In my opinion, that's the only one critique that I'll throw out there that is that guy probably should have been still holding low while that dude crossed. But it's not the end of the world. Like, the guy moved, This guy got his rifle back up and pulls that sector like right away, gets that sector. So that's one critique you can see where it's like, okay, probably would have been better for that to happen. But guess what? They just got done with contact over there. They put the 2 guys down, and he crosses across there. Okay, so
He also ran full speed though. He didn't lollygag.
yeah, he's not like lollygagging there. He moves quickly across it, so it's not that big of a deal. But I stop it on this one.
Party.
Yeah, he didn't have a tea party.
No tea party.
I just use that
You
one
gotta
as like
take risks. You're in a gunfight. You have to take some risks every once in a while, right?
exactly.
You know,
Yeah,
maybe he didn't have enough guys. He didn't have someone to cover him because everyone else is doing work.
And so
And
what
he's
became
trying to get to a position of work.
yep,
Maybe
Right.
they're dead because nobody ever said move, set, or moving.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe speed was his security, right?
Mm.
That's another way of looking at it. Sometimes speed can be your security. I'm seeing a lot of not head eyes behind muzzles. Right?
I like all these dudes' rifle setups, man.
Yeah, they're all really good. Alright, you're going to see a guy hang out in a fatal funnel. Look at him have a tea party right there in that fatal funnel and turn his back to that fatal funnel. Having a tea party in a fatal funnel, man. Doing a little bit of limited penetration here. Doesn't it look like that? That was an open door. Why didn't they just flow through? Alright, is this another? Yeah, look at that. Another open door. Why didn't they just flow through that open door? Now he's about to, what's he doing? Pieing that off. Pieing it off and in. Right?
What's that dude doing? Go back.
Okay.
Did you only have... Again, a little bit further back. Sorry.
Come on,
I don't know. What is he doing right there? Was he hooking a sling?
I think he was doing his sling or something. That's one of the bad guys.
Oh, I got you.
Okay, him coming around the corner, looking over his optic, not head eyes. Not head eyes. Not head eyes. Alright. There's one really good spot I want to posit here because it shows what we were talking about angles and trying to search and assess and find people. We don't have wall hacks, so we don't know exactly where everybody is. We just have sound where we think they might be, where we saw them visually last, and where we perceive them to be. So these guys come up with a good solid flank.
Just laying it down.
Right, so this guy comes around the corner, picks up his target, identifies him, moves forward. This guy shifts, right? So this is really crucial right here. This guy shifts over to where he knows they're being flanked. And he catches this guy, let me get it just right. Right there. Okay, so this guy right here that you can see is standing out of cover and out of concealment. He's actually right perfectly in between here. So, oh my God, it's the end of the world. Or could it be that he was pieing around this and the guy was ducked down behind the car? He didn't initially see him, but he wasn't hunting through his optic so he could react and see this guy. He might have been checking dead space on this green car, and so he overextended while he was trying to get that dead space. And because he wasn't hunting through his optic, where he perceived a threat to be, he picked up on the movement and was able to snap to it and engage this dude, even though he wasn't making really, really good use of cover and concealment in that exact second.
Yeah.
Right?
That's the snapshot in time.
Yes. So,
We don't know.
again, that is not
Almost like things are dynamic.
Almost like we can't just perfectly know where people are unless they're cardboard. So there's a lot more movement where dudes are doing, like, where they're doing limited pen a little bit, where they're not flowing in through rooms, doing that stuff. You know, they're signaling to each other, they're moving, all this stuff. These are professionals. These guys know what they're doing. They're very, very skilled at what they're doing. Is it absolutely flawless, perfect all the way through? Well, guess what? They had to probably do a couple of these shots a couple times, so they were planned out. It was some cinematic stuff, but they were trying to put together a video that would show somebody what it's like or what the objective behind these things are.
The capability.
Yep.
Media.
He's standing in a fatal funnel right there. Oh!
Oh, multiple times.
Yeah. So, that's that video. What's the
Great
point?
video.
Yeah, I mean it's phenomenal. There's a lot of learning stuff involved in that. So what's the purpose
Like that.
behind us kind of doing that, right? We have a bunch of people that are not head eyes behind their gun. So what I want to do is I want to read through the critiques that I had written down real quick, and we'll just see how those apply, right? Peeking cover. I think we saw a lot of dudes that were coming around a corner with their gun generally up, but using their full field of view, identifying where that threat was at, and bringing the rifle back up in split seconds. right? We saw a lot of that in that video. So that kind of delegitimizes that based on situational stuff. You need to look for threats. That was another point. PID, all this stuff we talked about. Don't use your radio that close to me. Okay, well, again, this wasn't a good example, but we already kind of debunked that one.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't really feel like there's much of a need to go on about this stuff. I think that pretty much sums up the purpose behind all of this, why we're doing this, is not because we like making fun of people on the internet, but it's because there's a lot of people out there that enjoy watching content and watching these videos of T.REX Arms, and I think they're doing a good thing as a logistics company. I would say more so than being a tactical authority. I've never considered them to be that. I know for a fact Lucas does not consider them to be that, and they don't think they're that. Logistics-wise, they're doing a great job. We would not have nearly as many rifles with night vision and lasers and suppressors that we have in the United States right now, and there would not be a revival of civilians wanting to learn this stuff and being proficient if it was not for T.REX Arms. It would not be nearly as big. And the reason that we want to do this is because it's not stuff that's going to get you killed, at least not in my opinion, and I think Josh and Eric would agree. It's not stuff that's going to get you killed. Nor is it trying to be.
Yeah, anything can get you killed.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of badass guys that got killed in slippers. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
I mean, when the day comes, it comes for everyone.
Well, there's Green Berets too. I mean, you could be the most badass trained dude in the world, and some kid in a closet in Afghanistan smokes you.
Yeah.
And that's just
people get lucky.
Yeah, it is what it is. So, with that being said, I was going to take one of my videos of our field training exercise to prove a point, talking about how formal, active duty military training can have these exact same holes in it. Take my word for it. I don't think we need to rip. I don't think we need to go into that video and tear it apart. It's if you want to watch it, it's a video of us shooting off of Zodiacs, which go like literally 2 miles an hour, and we're shooting off of Zodiacs. It's like if you ever did that in real life, you'd get torn up and you'd die. You're all piled into a little rubber boat. You do the math of what happens if you start shooting off that going 2 miles an hour. I could swim faster. Was it really fun? Yes. Was there benefits of marksmanship? Yes. Was there good coordination? Yes. Was there working on a casualty in a weird position? Yes. All those things are benefits of learning how to, do these trainings. It's not perfect, and it's not this. Yeah, formal training is. You don't just get to slap the term formal training on there and be good to go. That's not how it works.
Nope.
Anything else to add, guys? I think that pretty much sums it up. I don't think we really missed any points. If anyone has questions about this stuff, reach out to us. We'd be more than happy to have a conversation with you, ask you about it or what you think. And honestly, the intent behind this video was not to make fun of. I mean, it's just naturally going to happen, man. You put your foot in your mouth. If you're in the military, you understand. I've been humiliated in the military by putting my foot in my mouth. I'm sure it happens in law enforcement. We've all had to be, had that happen. So the purpose was our perspective, our take on the tactics being horrible that are being displayed.
Mm-hmm.
Good to go?
Yeah, I mean, if I had to add anything, I would just say that, for the longest time, I feel like people were trying to call him out for his flat range. Load on the flat range. Do that off the flat range, And as soon as he tries to start introducing more dynamic scenarios, more things that may happen in real life, and then he does something maybe a little wrong, maybe it looks a little weird, maybe it's just for the camera, and then you're going to blow up about it, and it just doesn't make much sense.
It's a catch-22. Damned if you do, damned if you don't.
The people in Tennessee would still be paying an ammo tax without Lucas. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, he's done a lot more for the community than most people, I would have to say.
I agree. Eric, anything to add?
No, I don't even know Lucas Botchins.
Who is she?
She's a cutie.
No, all jokes aside, I agree, Josh. That's a really good statement.
Yeah, it's a great point. It's easy. Just be careful. It's easy to critique something that you're not aware of when you don't have the context. And then also, most importantly, who cares?
Yeah.
Who cares?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Let people do what they want to do. Go on about your own life and do what you want to do. Simple as that.
I think ego is really key. If you come at something with an ego, it's going to blind you and make you more ignorant because you're not willing to stop and actually consider someone else's point of view. If you're just coming through and you think you're this hot, be analytical, right? take your experiences, but also try and humble yourself, be analytical about the things that you look at. Don't try and belittle people just to make yourself look bigger. Just go be a big person, like Eric's saying. Who cares? Yeah. That was kind of the purpose. It's not that serious. These are not tactics that are going to get you killed. He's not teaching tactics. He still has a right to practice tactics if he wants to and display those with people. You don't have to follow him. You don't have to listen to him. But I don't even think he's doing that, to be honest. I don't.
And also, cancel culture is stupid.
Yeah, don't be a mob. Make your individual decisions. If the cancel culture stems from someone canceling, that person rebuttaling with a cancel, don't do that. If someone cancels someone, just make an individual decision. Do you not want to use that product anymore? Do you want to use it and not agree with the decision? Do you agree with the decision? Whatever it is, think like an individual, choose for yourself, and don't try and goad other people and ostracize people for their opinions about stuff, right? It's stupid, right? It doesn't make any sense, and it draws us back as a community. That's not what we're trying to do. So, cool. That's all I got. Thanks for tuning in.
That's
Good job.